2. I think so. Alright, so we can start whenever. I'll open it up.
Okay.
Alright, we'll start pretty soon. Just trying to think. Alright, here we are back on the page. This is Augustana Cross Country, South Dakota. So another video iteration in our runner profile series. So today we have Skylar DeJong. So Skylar, why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you? Who is Skylar DeJong?
Well, I'm Skylar DeJong, a redshirt junior cross country runner, a senior academically. Biology major. I'm from Oskaloosa, Iowa. Most people have no idea where that is. That's okay. You don't need to know exactly what it is. But so, born and raised on a small local farm, and decided I loved the grind of running, and here I am. So,
we're glad to have you. So, why don't we talk just a little bit more about you, Skylar, as a person? Well, tell us a little bit about your family and your hometown.
Okay.
You said no one knows where Oskaloosa is, so why doesn't anyone know where Oskaloosa is?
Well, so Oskaloosa is about 5.5 hours away from Sioux Falls. It's a small, it's not small, I would say. It's a smaller city. It's about 12,000 people. There's a local college there. It's kind of off the map for, I would say, for sports in general. I mean, when I was in high school, I was probably one of the better known athletes at the time, but there was not very many people going out, reaching out athletically and trying to get their names out there to, go to college and run or compete in like track or like in football or basketball. It was very kind of low key. We were kind of the lower end of our division in our state, and so just kind of to find that passion, I wanted to force myself to compete with people in the top end and show them that small town Iowa does know what they're doing, even though they're in the lowest end of the top class.
So that's interesting. So coming from a place like that, a smaller town where maybe people didn't have a history of going collegiate, is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
How did you find yourself at Augustana, and how did you find yourself wanting to be a collegiate athlete?
Well, I always wanted to be, when you're a little kid, you dream of being a professional athlete, and everybody that a stepping stone into coming into professionalism is having a try at a collegiate career, and so that was always the goal. And I wasn't always sure it was going to be running. I mean, when I was a little kid, it was like, oh, I'm going to be the best football player ever, the best baseball player ever. But then in middle school, when I found that I really enjoyed and had a passion for running, I was like, man, this might be something I want to continue to do. And so my next step was finding the right college, and obviously not till high school, because in middle school you're not really thinking about that.
Yeah.
But the next step was just finding the right fit and finding a school where I felt like I mattered, but also where I wasn't the best. I wanted to be a part of a team where the dynamic was that we all had to work on top of each other. It wasn't that I was the top end guy. I didn't want that, because if I was the top end guy, I wasn't getting any better.
Sure. Yeah. So how did you find Augustana specifically?
Well, so it's actually a funny story. My senior year of high school, Augie placed 3rd at nationals that year, and so I went on to the Division II national championship list and saw the top 5, and I emailed all 5 of those schools, and I only got one response. Guess where that was from? Augustana. And so I kept in conversation, and I visited a couple other schools, but after visiting with Augie and talking with Tracy and Scott, this was the place for me. So.
Sure. Very cool. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about Augie further now that you're here? What's great about Augie? Why do you love Augie? Why do you stay at Augie?
Well, I love Augie because it's, not only for the team, but just the community in general. Sioux Falls is an awesome city. We joke it's the running mecca of South Dakota, but it really is. It's just an awesome place. There's a bunch of nice trailheads. We have awesome parks to go run at, but also just the community in general of Augie. We feel like we're in this little bubble, and we just have each other, which is phenomenal. That's the greatest feeling on the planet, having a sense of acceptance within a small community like this. And so then having my teammates along with that, all of them are my best friends. And so I would do anything for them, and just being able to have relationships like that, just really awesome. So.
Let's dig into a little bit about your running career specifically. So why don't we talk about your best race ever? You know, where is that moment? What has been up to this point the best you've ever felt accomplished?
My best race ever for me was this past winter. We did a 5K at SDSU, and that was just the best I ever felt in a race. I was hurt. I was on a line of, I was in pain, but I knew I was running fast, and I knew if I just kept pushing, I'd PR, and I PR'd by a lot, as you know, Sean.
Yeah, I do.
I PR'd by almost a minute, and it was phenomenal. It was the greatest feeling ever. After that, I felt so ecstatic. I was just bouncing off the walls. I was dead tired, but I didn't care because I was just so excited about how I felt during that race, and so that was by far my favorite race ever.
Yeah, and what was cool about that is even after that, you know, huge PR, sometimes people may say that's a little fluke, but you kind of just consistently were able to replicate that performance and run those kind of times over and over.
Absolutely. And you know, everyone has like their down weeks, and I had a couple of those, but I mean, for the most part, I proved to myself that I'm one of the guys that can be 15-0 below sub 15. So. Sure.
Awesome. So a little bit more about your running. What's your favorite event then? You mentioned the 5K.
Yeah.
That was your favorite race ever. Is that your favorite event?
No, my favorite race or favorite event is the steeplechase by far. It's just It's a funny story how I got into it, because I'm not the tallest guy. I'm only 5'8".
Sure.
And those hurdles are almost as tall as me. But freshman year, when Tracy and Scott picked out who was going to be on the steeple crew, they picked like Jesus and I think it was Schroeder. Jesus Schroeder, and so they were practicing for that. And one day I was sitting on the sidelines watching them practice, like, oh man, that looks really easy. And Tracy or Scott overheard me. And then the next week we had our team meeting, and they're like, okay, Skylar, you're also hopping out with the steeple crew. I was like, oh crap.
Did you feel like steepling came naturally to you? Like after you ran your big mouth. Once you started trying it, what was it like?
I mean, it was kind of difficult at first. I'd always, you know, in middle school you see like the people practicing over hurdles, and you're like, man, I wish I could have done that, but I don't have the coordination for it. Now I get to try it, and it's fun. I mean, it's something different. Being a small town, I was in a lot of different sports, and so I consider myself an athlete of sorts, and so being able to show my athleticism and try and jump over these hurdles, that was kind of a cool scenario for me. But I really felt like I kind of got into the groove. I really focused on my form. I would watch videos of like Evan Dager, Emma Coburn, and those people, because they're phenomenal steeplechasers, and so just kind of getting a little bit of background on that. And then one time over spring break my freshman year, I went back and visited home, and I talked to my old hurdle coach, and he gave me a few pointers, and I went to practice with him, and he would do some demonstrations with me, and so that was always super fun. And it was just a really awesome, kind of an easy way to dive into it, because I knew I had that support group back at home, and so being able to contact him and reach out to him was really nice.
So you kind of mentioned you like steeple because it allows you to do something maybe a little different, maybe show a little bit more of your athleticism. So talk a little bit about that. As a high schooler, I know you were in multiple sports, and in middle school as well, you were always trying different things, like you said before. So was that an important part of your athletic career, being involved in many things? And now that you're specialized, do you feel like that has changed the way you look at athletics?
I really enjoyed my time at middle school. I played, I guess I'll go through the soccer, baseball, wrestling, swim team, track, cross country, football. I mean, I'd like to say I did it all, but I mean, it was obviously when you're a younger kid, you want to do everything, you want to be involved in everything, and so that was my time to do that. And then as I worked my way through high school, I kind of individualized and I worked my way down. So I got rid of the swim team and the football, so I just did 5 events. And then after sophomore year, I was like, the cross country track and soccer overlapped, and I had to pick between one of those two. I was like, I'm definitely way better at track, and I didn't really enjoy the team atmosphere of the soccer team, so I was like, I'm gonna continue following this path. And so then by senior year, I was just down to wrestling, cross country, and track and field, and I thoroughly enjoyed all those sports because I found so much similarity in them. I mean, they're both just these intense grinds. In wrestling, it's one man, mano a mano, and then cross country, it's you versus the clock. So there's always that. There's a similarity in that it's you. It's not what the other person's doing or what the other guys on the race are doing. It's what you do to get better. So. And
you were quite a good wrestler back in the day. I mean, state runner-up, right? Yeah. What was that like? I mean, how was it? Was it hard to give up wrestling after such a successful high school career?
It's been something I've been doing my entire life almost. It was challenging to give it up, but I found more I wouldn't say I found more success as much as I found more self-accomplishment with running. I mean, in the state of Iowa, it's like the pinnacle of your wrestling career is Iowa State high school championships or finals, and I accomplished that goal. That was a dream of mine since I was a little kid in elementary school. But in college or in high school, I placed in the top 10 of the state cross country, but I wanted to win a state title at some point.
Sure.
And it's like I never accomplished that. But so I've done what I needed to do in wrestling, and I was like, this is obviously I'm not going to get much better. I mean, I could have, but
sure.
I wanted to accomplish more in cross country.
You felt like there was a lot left in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about outside of running?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Skylar, you're a runner, but you know, you and I know very well you can only run so many times, so many hours of the day can be spent running and consuming the sport.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we got to avoid injury and fatigue and burnout. So there's a lot to you that isn't a runner. And so why don't we dive into that a little bit? Why don't you tell me just a little bit about what you do outside of running? Like, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do with your time?
I really enjoy cooking. So in the summers we all cook for each other in the evenings, and I have found a passion that I just enjoy prepping meals and making well-rounded meals and also preparing those meals. And so that's always something I enjoy. Otherwise, I watch a lot of Netflix, specifically anime. I mean,
what's the best anime?
What's the best anime? It's probably Naruto Shippuden, but that's just for me, which is also better.
Sure.
So, otherwise, I enjoy some reading. I've been doing some reading, not very much recently. I was in a gardening accident, and so I broke my pinky, and I kind of got away from the reading process. And so.
Oh, it was hard to hold the book?
It was hard to hold the book. It was indeed, Sean.
Yeah.
And this little splint just. Yeah. So.
But that's all better now?
It's all better.
It's doing better?
It's doing a lot better. I'm back running, so.
You had a pretty gnarly scar.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'd say.
It's healing well, though.
Definitely a weird looking.
Yeah. Your finger's still the same length, though. So
they are the same length. I thought one might get stretched out.
Yeah.
So.
I know you do also like to travel a lot. I mean, you've been kind of around a lot of places. What are some of the best places you've ever been to?
So I really enjoy getting out of the country. Two of my favorite trips out of the country were this past spring break. You and I went to Norway.
I was there.
We hung out with Andre and his family, and that was just, it was super fun. Although I did get cranky a couple times.
Don't let Skylar.
Yeah, don't let me starve.
Yeah, don't let him go too long without food.
Yeah, they're bad times. But it was so much fun. I really enjoyed the trip no matter what, and just learning. It wasn't like I've been on a school trip before, and this was I found to be much more fun because you delve into the community because you had to live with a family. Yeah. And then my other favorite trip was my freshman year. We spent 2 weeks in Spain with visiting my foreign exchange sister in Madrid, and we lived on a boat for a week, which that was awesome. A little sailboat. I'm a big fan of close quarters. The rest of my family is not, so it made it that much better.
How'd you run on a boat? How'd you get your workouts in?
We docked on an island every night. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Skylar, thanks for visiting with us. I hope the viewers at home kind of know a little bit more about Skylar DeJong now, and hopefully we'll be able to put more of these videos out. Anything last you want to say?
No, go Augie Cross Country. It's gonna be a fun year. So.
It is gonna be a good year. I can't wait for it. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.